So I don't even know how to start this video off. I just woke up to the news about the passing of the legendary mangaka Akira Toriyama at the age of 68, the creator of both Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. And it's been a few hours since I found out about it, but I would be lying to you guys if I didn't say that I'm still processing it. Like, it's still surreal. Like, it's crazy, man. Like, this guy that played such an important figure in not just my own childhood but many other people's childhoods, he's gone, especially at the age of 68. And I know for a lot of people, watching this, they might think like, oh, it's like you never even met the guy, why is it so impactful and emotional for you? And the best way to describe it is that this guy, that's the impact he had. I never met the guy, never talked to the guy, yet I feel like I myself, as well as many other people, were very invested and very attached to this individual because of all his work. And now that he's gone, it's a real shame, and it's very sad. And I would be lying, like I said, if I told you guys that I still wasn't processing the whole situation, because I still am. It still feels very surreal. And I know a lot of people are talking about, like, what does this mean for the franchise? And I don't care about that. I don't want to talk about that. What I want to talk about is, in this video specifically, just the impact that he's had in my life, and my whole story into how I even got to Dragon Ball Z, and how I would go as far as to say, without being, without exaggerating, that if it wasn't for Toriyama, I wouldn't have had the same childhood that I had, because his work definitely impacted my childhood tremendously. Like, and I'll start off pretty much, going back to the year 2002, and how I got into Dragon Ball Z, period. And so, like I said, let's go to 2002, and I'm at a family gathering of mine, and I have my PlayStation 2, and one of my cousins, he brings a copy of Dragon Ball Budokai 1. And for the record, this was my first exposure to Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball or anything, because I myself, I had heard about the franchise, and I knew what Dragon Ball was to the extent of, like, the name only. I never saw the character designs. I didn't see a single episode. I didn't know anything of Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball. So my first interaction with the franchise was watching the Dragon Ball movie. Like, funny enough, that was my first interaction. Like, just watching the movie and figuring out, or watching the video game, the cutscenes, pretty much, and trying to piece together, like, what is the story, like, what is, like, well, what is happening. And I still remember pretty vividly, having to beat that game, like, within, like, a time period, because I didn't have a memory card, neither did my cousins. So the whole challenge was, okay, let's beat this entire game before the party ends, and which we did. And it was a lot of fun. And then going forward, I ended up buying that game myself, because I was so invested in, I love, like, the storytelling of the game. Well, just the storytelling that Toriyama himself made, obviously, that was adapted into the game. And I was just so, like, glued into it. It only covered to the Cell arc. And then my cousin, he ended up buying Dragon Ball Budokai 2. And I myself didn't, like, I didn't play like that often with him, because I believe when he got to it had been a few years, and the third one had already came out. So I was a little late in the game. I think I got Budokai 3 around when I was the age of 8 or so. I forget, like 2004. I could be wrong, guys, but I got it, like, on that release year, because I was so excited. And I played it. I was glued to it. I was obsessed. And then eventually I bought every single Dragon Ball Z game for a period of time, from Budokai 3 onward. I bought Ultimate Tenkaichi 1, 2, and 3, like, the big magnum opus of the franchise, Dragon Ball Z Tenkaichi 3. And after the fact, I even got, Dragon Ball Z, Raging Blast 1, Raging Blast 2. I was just hooked with it. And, this is a franchise that has a very special place in my heart, because it's the very first franchise that, at least anime-wise, this is the first interaction with anime outside of Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, and Digimon. Because those were, like, they were advertised for children, and, they were more children-oriented. Unlike Dragon Ball Z, where they had a lot of violence and action, you know. And not saying that the other ones didn't, but Dragon Ball Z was specifically like for a younger, a more adult audience than something like Pokemon. You know what I mean? Or Yu-Gi-Oh. But yeah, I remember pretty much from there on, I got like hooked into the anime medium. And then like Dragon Ball Z wasn't my first anime, right off the record. If I'm not considering Pokemon, Digimon, or Yu-Gi-Oh, my first anime ever was Inuyasha, actually, by Shonen Tsunami. And then my second anime would be Dragon Ball Z that I was watching. And yeah, it just held a really special place in my heart, and it still does. Like, you know, is it the greatest story ever told? No, but I would argue it's one of the most influential, if not the single most influential, you know, series to have ever come out, at least in the medium of manga. Because if you think about it, in the space that we live on, in the day and age of 2024, a lot of, you know, stories have come out like Jujutsu Kaisen, One Piece, Naruto, and etc. Demon Slayer, and a lot of those, you know, they were, you know, like they were inspired in some way or shape or form by Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z and Toriyama's works. And a lot of people's favorite, you know, if your favorite mangaka that's a shonen writer, if you ask them who's their favorite, you know, author, most of them will either say Togashi or Toriyama, and it makes sense. I mean, Toriyama himself, you know, Kishimoto, the creator of Hunter x Hunter and Yu Yu Hakusho, he's gone on record saying that his favorite author of all time is Toriyama. And, you know, he is the guy that popularized the genre to new heights that, you know, kickstarted the huge shonen boom in popularity. I mean, look at the West. Just look at the West with us, with how it exploded thanks to Tsunami. And, you know, Dragon Ball Z just has such an important factor in the anime community that I'm very grateful I was exposed to it, because like I said, thanks to it, it was what dipped my toes and made me into the anime fan that I am today. And while I'm talking about, you know, the story of Dragon Ball Z, I want to talk about, you know, some of my favorite characters that Toriyama ever wrote, which happened to be my favorite character that he's ever written, Vegeta. I know a lot of Vegeta fans are out there, you know, arguably the best character in the story. And I would go as far as to say also that he's one of the best, if not the single best rival in all of shonen as well. Just such a great journey from the arrogant prince to the proud father that he is at the end. Like, I think and I see a lot of people that, you know, say that, you know, Dragon Ball Z is overrated, you know, it's outdated, all these things. But when you think about it, you gotta put yourself in that time set. You know, when this came out, 1980 something, you know, Dragon Ball Z, nobody was doing this. And, you know, it's that domino effect where I look at it, where if Dragon Ball Z hadn't came out, what would that have meant? Like, what would that have meant for the medium as a whole? I'm sure that something would have came out eventually, but how long? And how would it come out? Because if you think about it, if you go back and backtrace, pretty much a lot of the big popular shonens were, you know, a lot of them got inspired with Dragon Ball Z. Okay, so Dragon Ball Z doesn't come out. Let's say we live in a reality it doesn't come out. That would mean no Yu Yu Hakusho, no Hunter x Hunter, no Naruto. Because it's the domino effect where a lot of people were inspired also by Togashi. But Togashi was inspired by Toriyama. So it's that domino effect where, okay, let's say Togashi is not in play right now. That would mean no Bleach. That would mean no Naruto. That would mean no Jujutsu Kaisen. Like, right off the get-go. No My Hero, because My Hero was influenced by Naruto, which Naruto was influenced by Hunter x Hunter. So you see how deep this rabbit hole goes, where if Dragon Ball hadn't came out, you know, a lot of many people's favorite series wouldn't have come out. And am I saying that Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball are the best, like, series of all time? I'm not saying that. I am saying that they are definitely the most crucial in the timeline when it comes to the progression of shonen and series in the West as well as worldwide, popularity wise. Because I can go to any branch in the world and I can see a Dragon Ball Z merch. If I show them a Dragon Ball, they'll know what it is. If I show them a picture of Goku, they'll know who he is. That's the power that Goku and the franchise has as a whole. And, you know, it's crazy to me that this guy was consistently, you know, knocking it out of the park back to back to back. And what I mean by that is he originally started as a gag manga author, which his Dr. Slump series, which is like a more comedic kind of tone, you know, that's where Real is from. and then onward he moved on to Dragon Ball, and then Dragon Ball Z, and all three were, you know, big hits. Like he never delivered something that wasn't a hit. And the craziest part about Toriyama is that to this day, like what, 40 years in the franchise almost, Dragon Ball Z is still relevant. The Dragon Ball franchise is still relevant thanks to Super and, like, you know, GT. And I know some people are divisive and have their takes on both of them, but you cannot deny that those two, you know, spin-off series have been popular to some extent. I mean, I myself am not the biggest fan of GT at all, but I cannot deny when I see that Super Saiyan 4 character design that I'm like, okay, that's cool. And I have fond memories of some elements of it. Same thing with Super, where people love to hate Super on, like, oh, it's crap, it's trash. But, like, you gotta think about it. It's Super helped the franchise be reignited. You know, Battle of Gods, you know, came out in 2011 or so. 2013, I believe. And then Resurrection of F, and all of these things that Toriyama was involved with. And, you know, he still managed a way to make it, you know, be, you know, popular and, you know, not become irrelevant and obscure. He's managed to have the pulse in pop culture and managed to make the franchise still be relevant to this day. I mean, to this day, I still see Goku shirts and Vegeta shirts everywhere, cosplayers everywhere, figures. The franchise is alive, and it's arguably the biggest it's ever been. And I love that. And I love the fact that his work has been able to touch so many people's souls, you know, and their hearts, and has influenced them to a very, very, you know, impactful way in their lives. I mean, I've seen interviews with the voice actors of the dub, where somebody like Linda Young, she's the original voice actress of, you know, Frieza, where I've seen interviews with her where she's like, you know, she goes that she's been to conventions and people, you know, have thanked her, you know, saying that, you know, your character, you know, really helped me and, like, you know, saved my life, in the sense that, you know, Frieza was a short, you know, like a short person, and, like, I myself used to be bullied for being short, but then, you know, I would see Dragon Ball Z and I would see Frieza, like, you know, a short guy being able to, you know, like, kick butt. You know what I mean? So a lot of stuff like that, you know, it's in another thing with Dragon Ball Z, like, it's just a story that I think a lot of people say, oh, it hasn't aged well, whatever. I think it's aged like fine wine to me, personally. I mean, at least with Dragon Ball Z Kai, because I watched Kai. I don't watch Dragon Ball Z anymore because Kai is the updated version, because, you know, they cut down everything to no longer be Dragon or anything. But I think the storytelling elements are great, in the sense of, you know, somebody like Gohan. I mean, Gohan is a fan favorite as well. And Gohan, you know, he's a character that, you know, it's really cool, because I remember me watching Dragon Ball Z growing up. I was like the age of 6 or 7 or something like that, and watching this little kid grow into the man that he is during the Majin Buu arc. I just thought that was so cool, and I hadn't seen that period probably since, like, something like along the lines of Harry Potter, where, you know, each movie he gets older and older, and it's cool because you're growing with this character. And I feel like a lot of people were attached with Gohan to that particular fact. And another thing that I liked was that, you know, Toriyama did something interesting where, you know, Goku's the fighter. He's the one that always wants to fight. You know, he's always ready for a fight. Yet Gohan, you know, he is the timid, like, shy, doesn't want to fight. And, you know, what's cool about it is that he's that guy where, you know, he knows he could win the fight, but he chooses not to fight because he doesn't like to fight. And I think it was beautifully culminated during the Cell arc, where, you know, Goku passes the torch to him. And going forward with Majin Buu, that's a different story. But what I'm talking about is my first experience with Dragon Ball Z was at Budokai 1. So when I finished the story mode and I saw Gohan defeat Cell and all that, it was just fantastic. And it still is. Like, I still get shivers when I see Gohan go Super Saiyan 2. Like, that's, to me, in one of my favorite scenes in all of anime. Top 10. Definitely one of the most impactful scenes. Vegeta's last speech, where he goes, you know, he sacrifices himself to defeat, quote unquote, defeat Majin Buu. Like, a lot of big emotional moments. And I know a lot of people just say, oh, Dragon Ball Z's all action. It's like, no, like, there's a lot of nuance and a lot of very emotional moments. Vegeta's speech to Goku when he dies during the Planet Namek arc, where Frieza kills him. You know, you get a lot of emotional moments where Piccolo sacrifices himself to protect Gohan. Like, there's a lot of heart and a lot of emotion. And I remember watching as a kid, like, Dragon Ball Z, crying, bawling my eyes out when Piccolo sacrificed himself for Gohan. And even talking about it, I'm getting emotional, because it's those memories as a kid that you're like, wow, like, I don't get this from watching other cartoons. You know what I mean? It's those emotions where, you know, he just knew how to hook you. And I know you can see my eyes are getting red because I really mean it, man. Like, a lot of emotional moments in Dragon Ball Z, and I feel like, you know, a lot of people as the years have gone by, you know, they like to like trash it or say it's overrated and stuff. And, you know, you guys can feel whatever you want, but I'm just telling you guys my own personal experiences with the franchise and why I love it, because this video is just specifically talking and thanking Toriyama for, you know, impacting my childhood to such extent, because he really has. I love the franchise. Do I love everything they put out? No, I don't, but I love the characters in the world. I love, you know, Vegeta, Goku, Piccolo, Gohan. The story, the list goes on, and I'm just very sad, like, because at the age of 68, that's very young, and he was still. The craziest part is my man was still producing content. Like, he was writing a manga called Sandland, I believe, and he was still writing. Like, you have nothing else to prove, man. Like, you're one of the goats already. But my man was that passionate of a writer that he still wanted to write, and he still wanted to have fun, and that's very uplifting. Like, you know, that even to his final days, he was still like writing, and or at least like he still had series that were ongoing that he was passionate about. Because at the end of the day, you got to think about it. He has all the money in the world. He already solidified his legacy for like the ends of time. He has nothing else to prove, but yet he still wants to write and have fun, and that's very endearing. And that also shows, you know, how much of a great guy and, you know, his character as a whole are, where he still wants to, you know, tell stories for an audience. And yeah, like, man, like, it's just crazy. Like, it's just crazy that, you know, no longer we'll hear the name Akira Toriyama. I mean, we'll hear it only in association, but we'll no longer see his interviews where, you know, he always sounded very fun in his interviews. You know, when he was promoting Dragon Ball's superheroes, he was very excited, like talking about Gohan and, you know, going like the beast mode or whatever. And he just sounded like he was very invested in this. Like, he was never bored. He always had fun, you know, writing about the franchise of Dragon Ball as a whole. And I really like that, you know. Like, he always seemed like he was having fun, at least from the interviews I've read of him. And overall, I think that, you know, his loss is very impactful. And I think something, the last death that I think will be this, that has had this impact in pop culture, I would go as far as to say like something like Kobe. You know, Kobe Bryant, you know, when he passed away, it was a big cultural, you know, event, like worldwide. Robin Williams too, you know, people like that, you know. It's crazy, man. Like, I can't even wrap my mind around it. You know, it's like I said, it's been a few hours since I saw the news, and I'm still shocked. Like, I still can't believe that he's gone. But, you know, I feel like now I definitely have the urge in my body to, you know, rewatch Kai, because I wanna appreciate his work one more time. It's been a while since I've seen Kai, a few years, but I really want to go back in there and just get myself indulged and, you know, glued and watch, you know, the Saiyan saga, the Frieza saga, and you know, everything onward, because I really love the franchise. And like I said, is it my favorite franchise of all time? No. Is it the best anime of all time? For me, no. But it's an anime and franchise that I hold very dearly and I love. You know, even when, like I said, when they put out projects that I don't like or don't care for, I'm still happy that they're putting them out for a new audience, because that's the thing that, you know, you got to put new audiences on. You cannot just rely on your old fans. And I think that Dragon Ball Z has always been very good at that. You know, look at Super, for crying out loud. Ultra Instinct, to this day, you know, he still manages a way to find pop culture, like his relevance in the pop culture medium, where it was Super Saiyan God, you know, all these things like Goku Black with Rose, you know, he still manages a way to make it so like it's a global event. When a new Dragon Ball Z, you know, anime fight happens, it's a global event. Everybody talks about it. And yeah, it's just it's a gift that, you know, only a few, if like, ever had. And I think that he definitely, you know, he has more than proved why he deserves to be in the Mount Rushmore of manga, pretty much, um, because of his influence in the medium as a whole. Period. And he'll be very dearly missed by me. I wish his family, you know, the best wishes and, you know, condolences and all that. Um, because it's harsh. You know, I know how harsh it is to lose a family member. I mean, you know, it sucks, and it definitely sucks that, you know, he's gone, especially at such a young age. Because, like I said, you know, 68 is very young, at least for me myself, and especially when we see some terrible people in the world where they're old, like extremely old, but they're still alive. But yet somebody like Toriyama passes away at a young age. It just, you know, it grabs me in the heart. I'm like, oh, that sucks, man. Like, that really sucks. But yeah, I mean, just Dragon Ball. You know, it's crazy. Like I said, I can't even wrap my mind around it still. It's all new, and we miss. And I think I'll cut this video off because I hear like a lot of sirens in the background and it's very distracting. But oh no, it's passing away. Don't worry. It was an ambulance. But yeah, just like I said, I think I don't even know what to think. Period. Just Dragon Ball Z is one of the GOATs, and it will always be one of the GOATs. Toriyama solidifying himself as one of the GOATs as well. You know, it's a legend, and we just lost it, and I think that's sad. That's heartbreaking. Because I'll just say right now, there will only ever be one Toriyama, ever, and he's gone. You know, and it's very, very heartbreaking. And I don't even know, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what's going to happen going forward with the franchise. And like I said earlier, I don't care, honestly. I'll still watch it, you know, support the product and all, but I'm saying that I don't care in the sense that I don't care the discussion about it, where people are going to say, like, oh, what's going to happen with the new series? Are they going to cancel? I don't care. All I care about is praising his work, which is, you know, a work that shaped me to the person that I am today with my childhood. Because like I said earlier, when I was watching as a kid, I was now watching these shows that were so, you know, deep, or I wouldn't say deep, the proper word would be like mature, I guess, because I'm watching like something like the Very Odd Parents, like, you know, cartoon shows like that, like, and then you see Dragon Ball Z, you're like, whoa, this is like some heavy stuff. So yeah, I guess I'll cut it off with this, but yeah, just wanted to give you guys my thoughts and, you know, put a message out there about, you know, how much I appreciate his work and how much I love the franchise of Dragon Ball Z as a whole, because I love it. You know, it's one of my favorites. It's a very special place in my heart, and it would always have a special place in my heart. And the last thing to say is, like, you know, long live the king, and rest in peace to one of the greatest of all time, Akira Toriyama, at 68 years old. That's crazy. But yeah, I guess, you know, see you guys later, and thank you guys for watching.